I also don't care about the Disney stuff. Woody, have you watched the new Disney show? Star Wars show, Star Wars Acolyte.
I hadn't heard about it.
Oh my God!
Is it on the Disney
You're
Plus?
Clearly not on the right, getting any of that right wing propaganda pumped to you.
I seek it out. I bet I watch more Fox News than the rest of the show combined.
Oh, it's easy. It's zero.
Impossible. Yeah, it's another like super woke Star Wars show with like black lesbian. I think there were some black lesbian Force users who like use the Force to get pregnant or something.
Really?
I don't know. I've only seen a few clips of it. You know, it upsets me to see.
I just don't know a lot about
I
Star
also
Wars,
heard. All right, now I don't know. Now this is a completely separate thing. This has nothing to do with that necessarily. But I think Kathleen Kennedy was quoted as saying that they were going to get away from the dark side and the light side of the Force because those racist terminology.
Isn't that the whole?
And saying that the light side is inherently good and the dark side is inherently bad is racist. So we're gonna get all away from
That's not how accounting works.
Sammy J was on the light side of the Force, and he's black. He had a purple lightsaber.
In accounting, in the black is where you want to be. The red side is the bad side.
That's true. Yeah. And I bet they didn't consider that, did they? In their ridiculous. Are they really? So I don't follow the Star Wars stuff at all. They're actually like, we're going to get rid of my understanding from Star Wars, a core tenet is the light and the dark side of the Force. How would you even remove that? That's like, we're going to remake Lord of the Rings.
Maybe
we're done with all no more jewelry in Lord of the Rings. The rings are classes. Not everyone can afford a ring.
What if instead of using light and dark, they just reverse what they are? Oh, you on the white side of the Force.
No, I did see who's the leader of Disney right now?
Watch that.
Eisner? I forget. They brought a guy back, and he was like, "We need to get away from this woke stuff. It's been a mistake." So we'll see if that translates.
And I just want to watch space pirates duke it out with laser swords and use their mind powers. And I want at least one cute fucking character, and you can make all the toys you want. And I'll fucking buy a T-shirt with that little cocksucker on it. I did. I got a little Baby Yoda shirt. It says like the Force. This is the way, and it's like way is spelled WHEY, like whey protein. It's funny as shit. He's like got his little Grogu bowl. But I'm checked out. I love The Mandalorian season 1 so much, and this just you can see it like getting worse and worse as John Favreau leaves the project.
Those shows, like, it was my understanding that the Star Wars shows aren't doing well.
It's hard to tell because of review bombing. What the general consensus is.
Review bombing is also like its own excuse at this point, because you'll see listings of or like reviews where it's like, well, 95% of the reviewers whose job depends on liking our movies liked it, and only 18% of the audience liked it. Clearly, this was bombed by trolls. And it's like, no, it's probably people who are like, I'm really into Star Wars. I can't wait to go see the next source material on Star Wars. And then they show up and it's like, we don't like the light and the dark side. That's race, like just fucking bullshit. And so it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy for them in that way, where they can make whatever nonsense woke shit they want and then offboard all of it to an ethereal accusation of trolls.
They lost the plot back against like Rotten Tomatoes being dishonest a while ago, but now I'm like, I just can't trust any of these review sites. It seems and it's not always in one direction either. I think the studios will pump it up in a positive way, and then it gets knocked down. Sometimes it can be a good thing, but a particular group hates it enough that they do review bomb. And I just don't trust. I don't know how to get good reviews anymore.
Here's their Rotten Tomatoes.
They'll be like, this was review bombed so hard that we're removing all the reviews. It's like, oh, you're removing all the bad reviews.
This one that Kyle linked, it's for Star Wars The Acolyte. It follows the pattern that Taylor just mentioned. Like the pros give it 86% fresh, and the audience gives it 18% in Rotten.
Yeah. I did. And look, I'm a nerd about certain things. I guess I'm okay with there being blaster noises because I assume in space.
Oh yeah, me too.
Even though like I'm like, yeah, I guess the pilot can hear them because they're like his guns are reverberating, like physically interacting with the ship, and it's vibrating the air inside his cockpit. But in the Acolyte, there's a scene where there's a fire on the outside of the ship, and they're like out there in spacesuits, I guess, maybe trying to put it out. And it's like a campfire, like burning on the side of a spaceship, and it's like, come on now. Come on now, that doesn't.
I need to see it. I can imagine a world where there's enough oxygen and gas escaping the hole in the ship to sustain a flame, but it probably doesn't do that.
Am I retarded? Yeah. Where do I go on this website to like actually see the reviews themselves instead of just a score?
Oh, you like click you click which kind of reviews. Click the
I'm clicking average tomato meter, and it's just pulling up.
It hid them. I feel like I just watched them on my phone. Like I feel like I was just reading reviews on my phone from there yesterday.
I don't know. I don't see a way to do it. It just says 86% average tomato meter.
That's silly.
For all
if you want like if you want more of a right wing, I don't even know if I should call it that, take on movies, it's Critical Drinker. His channel's just exploding in popularity the last year or 2 or 3. When I first started watching him, I didn't think he was that big, but I think he was on Piers Morgan. He's done a bunch of stuff like that, and his reviews are he just destroys stuff like this. I don't watch it because it's a little disappointing. Like when I see what it has become, it actually upsets me a little. I'm like, oh, it's like that South Park episode where they're raping Indiana Jones. Like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg have Indiana Jones bent over the pinball machine. They're like licking his nipples and stuff, like giving it to him. It's kind of how it feels.
The Google reviews are somehow even worse. 1.6
Read me one.
stars. So this is just the first.
Use your Star Wars movie review voice, please.
This is. Oh wow. Okay. Well. Klingon Force left a review a day ago. Okay, well, it had stains all over it from the start. Laughable. They've labored to turn this into a female franchise. Insult its I should have expanded before this is long. What's left for them? They continue down a path very little population wants. Disney's track record has been tarnished and frankly not very good over the years. They know nothing about the Force. You're born and gifted with the Force. It is not a class you take for credits and get a degree. Exactly what I thought it would be. Predictable, dumb and cheesy, mediocre, not so bright writing. Where did the 880 million plus go? Hokey dialogue, disconnected, sluggish, generic. The acting is bad like a CW show. I struggle with anyone who thinks this is good. Okay, and he goes on and on like this. And this is 1,220 people found this helpful.
Kyle, wasn't the Force something you could train in the beginning? And then it became a midi-chlorians thing in your blood.
So it was an intangible in the beginning. I think they've made it now. So it was this intangible thing that like the Force is with him, or he is strong with the Force. You would say that, and there were certainly levels to that, as well as like levels to someone's Force mastery and whatever skills that they got from it. It was a little Harry Potterish. Not everybody could do everything, but. Then they made it Midi-chlorians, and George Lucas did that with the first prequel movie that came out in 2000 or 2001 or whatever, 99 maybe? I don't know. But now I think with these new like DEI Star Wars, they're turning it into something that you can like train like it's an Olympic sport or something. And
I like that more. Here's where I'm coming from.
Lame.
When I learned it was, I'm going to get the word wrong, like midi-chlorite levels in the blood or
midi-chlorian.
Thank you. Midi-chlorian levels in the blood. Suddenly, all hope of young Woody training to become a Jedi was taken from him. I just wasn't born with it. You can't have this anyway. I was hoping that maybe I would meet Yoda and develop this skill. That's what I liked. It was something I could learn. And then when it became something you were born with, it was like, fuck. Now I'm screwed.
See, I like that because it puts a rarity on the thing. It's the classic chosen one thing.
The rarity is my desire to learn and believe in myself.
But you can suspend belief on meeting Yoda, but you can't. Like you can just imagine yourself as someone with midi-chlorians too, and be like, in this world, I would have been.
I bet I'd have a lot of
Jedi.
them.
Yeah, Kyle would have been fucking flush with it. They would have been
like blown the fuck away.
He's nothing but excluded from the Jedi Club when I learned it was something in your blood. Whereas previously, I thought with enough determination, I could get there.
I don't I don't care enough about the Star Wars world, but if I were a fan, I would not like this canonical change. These other reviews, the 5-star ones, here's a line from one of those. It's a fun ride, in my opinion, and if you aren't an annoying Star Wars bro who hates women and diversity in movies, then give it a go. That's one of a 5-star. Here's another 5-star. Here's another 5-star.
Audience.
It's funny that that the entire audience that like review bombing. Oh, so bad, so crazy, unreliable nonsense. Review, boosting or juicing, which is what these people are clearly doing. People are review bombing this show. You know, the old white guys upset by it that think it's too woke, or the immature teenage boys. But let's be honest, they're still going to watch the show. Like,
I need to see it with my own eyes.
Yeah,
like people who hated Endgame
right.
because of the 15 seconds. Yeah, maybe they're right. I was like, yeah, Endgame was amazing. People who fuss about that whole movie because of the 15 seconds where the girls posed. I get where you're coming from. It was stupid, but I still like the movie. It didn't ruin
I want to watch the cut. I want a fan to like edit that out for me. Just that 15, like that didn't happen.
Don't worry, we got it.
It doesn't. In no way did it ruin the movie to me. It was like okay, but so much cool had preceded that moment that it was like, dude, you could fuck Captain America in the ass right now with a strap on. Like you could end the movie with that, and I'd be okay with it. Like this was he caught the hammer, dude. Picked up the hammer.
Yeah.
These shows would do better if they like didn't seemingly make them in a way that just actively hates the core viewer.
Yeah, it seems like there is enough out there. I mean, I'm a Star Wars geek too. It seems like there is enough out there that if there's something that isn't woke enough for you, you could just go watch something else. Like if people want to watch, I don't know, Smoking the Bandit, it's a great movie. It's a terrible movie on paper, but it's a great movie. And it's a bunch of white dudes chasing each other around in cars. Like there's no racism in the movie whatsoever, other than probably some flags in the background to be what I have a problem with. But if that's not your thing, like just don't go watch it. Like, I think there's this, everybody is being forced to filter everything through this, system where, you can't have anything edgy, like getting rid of the light in the dark, all that. Like, it just seems like in the pantheon of entertainment, there's got to be something for you if you don't like one thing to go watch something else. But I guess the people producing everything now want to pander to as many people as possible so as to increase the profit. So it does make sense to make something that's not going to get.
If they really bang you over the head with it, I'll agree with the MAGA guys. But if it's just 15 seconds in a 3-hour movie, I think they're overreacting.
Yeah,
it's just when it's like it's just ham-handed, when it's like just an aside in like a space show that's like, oh, you're just ripping on white people? Like, really? Like, up in space, this is still a problem? Like, you got aliens everywhere. Like,
I need to see it. Like, the most recent Star Treks have a lot of diversity in the cast, but it doesn't. They seem always to be have.
Star Trek's always been a very liberal left-wing show. From its insurgence.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But I never felt big time. Well, I didn't feel too beaten over the head. It didn't make me not enjoy Star Trek.
Yeah, and the new ones I thought were very well cast. I mean, particularly with the principal characters, and it was all the same. It was 3 white guys, a black chick, and a Scottish dude. I mean, just like the original movie.
You got a Russian guy and a Jap, and this isn't long after World War II, and the Cold War is brewing.
What's the name of the really good current one? Pike is the star.
Oh, Strange New Worlds, my favorite Star Trek property of all time. I think these days, I think it's hard to go back and watch like Deep Space Nine because I've seen it so many times probably, but also it doesn't look that great, and the plot lines are clearly cheap sometimes, most of the time. It's like, oh, we're in a cave again. I bet we don't get out until
lean this way, lean that way with the ship.
I bet we get out of this cave about 3 minutes before the end, so we can talk to the doctor in sick bay. And then we call it a game, huh, boys? It's a little frustrating. But Strange New Worlds, I'm sure there's a cave episode of Strange New Worlds because it's a trope and it's good to have it in there. I want one, but it feels kind of big budget and it feels slick. It has that sort of very clean, slick look to the ship and the tech, and everybody's very good. All the actors are very good, and I don't see anything that's like overly woke, I guess you'd say, anything that's beating you over the head or offensive to me personally or anything. And and also more importantly, because who cares what I fucking feel, it's not offensive to Star Trek canon to me. I feel like it's like, yeah, this is about right. Because you go back to 1967, 68 Star Trek, and they genuinely, literally have a race of people who are at war on this planet, a civil war, and they're bisected down the middle, black and white. They're like a black and white cookie. Like imagine a black and white cookie became a person, and they're split north, south, black and white. And the people who are right side black or were the people who are left side black. And it's this clearly an allegory for black on white racism. And it's like, look, we're all the fucking same. Come on, what's the big deal? And it was the audience was supposed to wake up and be like, yeah, that's kind of like kind of like, it make you think a little.
Whoa, never thought of it that way.
Captain Kirk banging every alien race was a little bit of outreach.
It was the 60s.
Yeah, that was very
it was the 60s. They just let him in school.
The 1966 cast, which was, it was, Lieutenant Her, you had an African American, you had a bunch of white guys, you had an Asian guy, and Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura in the 60s. When I learned this from a drunk history thing, but I've since corroborated it somewhere. It's fantastic storyline with that. So she's on the show for like 1 year and just didn't watch it, didn't get it, wasn't into it, decided she was going to leave the show. And Martin Luther King was a Star Trek fan and went to her and was like, in an era where most Black people in movies or TV are either playing slaves or are servers at a restaurant or something, like you are like an officer on a ship, you are an equal with these other characters, like you are this tremendous role model. And she had not seen it that way and decided to stay on the show. It was also the show with the first interracial kiss. Shatner was supposed to do a scene where he's like, they're like mind controlled or something. Somebody's using all like puppets to put on plays or something. And his character was supposed to kiss Lieutenant Uhura's character. And like the network was like, I don't know. So he kept like throwing it and kissing it and making him shoot it over and over again. And they finally made him do one without the kiss in it. And he intentionally crossed his eyes so they would have to throw that scene out and use the one where he kisses Nichelle Nichols' character. And, I thought that was pretty interesting, especially for, 50 something years ago.
Yeah. He wanted it in there.
Yeah, the new one though, the only bit, and I didn't really interpret this as like woke, but there's a scene in one of the, I don't know which movie it was honestly, but it was like they're all the characters are kind of on R&R, and you see the guy that plays Mr. Sulu, who was originally played by George Takei in the original Star Wars, like from the 60s, and in real life he has a male partner, and you see there's a scene where you see the Sulu character walking off with like his kid, but he has a male partner as well. But it didn't come across as like woke. It just was like a little nod to George Takei, like, hey, buddy, you're still, you're gonna get to be you in this universe. And I thought that was just a cool throwback to him.
Talking about Star Trek. It's the best day ever for me.
And I'm
everything you said is 100% accurate.
Like a Trekkie, but I just thought that was a cool bit of history.
I didn't care either, and I heard people. I watched tons of movie reviews, so if there's a review on a movie, I've seen eight different versions of that review on that movie, and there was one guy who was like, "Wait a minute, what? Why would? Okay, the actor George Takei is gay. Why would Mr. Sulu be gay? What the? That's the antithesis of acting. Why would he necessarily?" Guaranteed carry that trait onward. Why is he not being a straight man? It'd be a real acting job if he was in there fucking. And it's like, I don't know, just let him be gay. Let there be a gay character on the bridge. That's fine with me. Because again, when in the late 60s, you had I think the weapons officer I think Chekhov was the weapons guy, because I think Sulu was driving.
Ooh,
and
Russians,
that's funny.
They weren't
think about it.
Either.
They got they get a Japanese Asian driver on the flagship of the Federation of the Starfleet. Never. And this is maybe 11 years after Takei was in an internment camp as a kid. Like from World War II. Not 11. That's way more
math
years. Like
doesn't
22.
add up. Was he like one of those Japanese soldiers who didn't realize it was okay to leave? Like
no, he was a Californian. His family and him were rounded up and put in a Japanese internment camp here to make sure they didn't do anything quote unquote sneaky during World War II. But I don't know why I said 11 years. It's like 22 years or something probably.
Yeah, he must have been a real little kid.
Yeah, so that was really woke and progressive, I'm sure, to some people in the late 60s. It's like, why they got a fucking Ruski operating the cannons? He's liable to sneak one of them warheads back home to Moscow, And then you've got, again, and get the black girl on there, the whole thing.
They had their finger in a lot of pies.
I'm sure that was their version of
Star Trek's been around for 60 years now. And as far as I know, they've never let an Asian woman drive the ship.
That's why it's still they still have a ship.
They do crash it from time to time.
George Takei was getting some sort of like lifetime achievement award of some bit, and like he's very funny. Like in his, I've seen some interviews of him. He's hilarious.
He's a guy.
But like he made a reference. He was like something like his closing speech, blah blah blah, whatever. You know, having not been part of the show, wouldn't have made all these great friends, whatever. And thank you for letting an Asian guy drive. Like he even threw the and he just killed it. You know, like he did that kind of 8 Mile. He sort of 8 Miled it, you know, where he just owned it. But yeah, but the modern one with the character, you know, with Sulu's character having a male partner in the show, like, I mean, me personally, I mean, I like girls, but I don't have any prejudice whatsoever towards whoever anybody wants to like. And if I look at the cross section of my friend group, you know, out of let's say 100 of my friends, probably, I don't know, 5 of them are probably gay or lesbian. So if you take a ship with a cast of hundreds of people, it would just seem demographically accurate that at least some of those characters would probably have a same-sex partner as well. Yeah. Like that just seems more like a realistic depiction of humanity than
what it was is
pandering to wokeness.
For some reason, George Takei being gay made it okay in my eyes. That's what it is. I just sort of self-analyzed how I feel about that scene, because just to be clear to non-fucking nerds, it's an unnecessary scene that you show him walking away for his R&R, and then he holds hands with a man and they've got a kid. Like, there's no real reason to have that scene there. It's just say, hey, Sulu's gay too. And I was like, cool. But the reason I thought it was cool is because I know that reference, and it was a little pat on the back. And it was like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, he is gay. A little fun factoid.
Oh, yeah, but so I was okay with that. But if it had been a male and a female character walking away with a kid, would you have even noticed, or would it have just been like, okay,
I think I'd have made a joke. I'd have probably made a joke about it. I'd be like, come on, Sulu's gay though. Like it would have been something like that.